From Washington, the Mclaughlin Group, the American original. For over 2 decades, the sharpest minds, best sources, hardest talk.
Geico, committed to providing service to its auto insurance customers for over 70 years. More information on auto insurance at geico.com or 1-800-947-AUTO, any time of the day or night.
Investing takes perspective. It comes from navigating up and down markets for 60 years, spotting opportunities at home and abroad. Global investing from Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective.
If. For such a small word, it packs a wallop. If I live to 100, if Social Security isn't enough, if my heart gets broken, if she says yes. We believe IF should never hold you back. IF should be managed with a plan that builds on what you already have. Together, we can create a personal safety net, a launching pad for all those brilliant ifs in the middle of life. You can call on our expertise and get guarantees for the if in life. After all, we're MetLife.
Issue 1, stumping Obama.
If everybody who voted in 2008 votes in 2010, we are confident we will win this election.
The scene is Rhode Island, where the most heavily reported race is a 3-way bid for Rhode Island state governor. The Democratic Party in Rhode Island officially endorsed gubernatorial candidate Frank Caprio, who is currently state treasurer. Caprio is opposed in the governor's race by Republican John Robitaille and one-term Republican U.S. Senator Lincoln Chafee, who turned independent in 2007. Chafee comes from an old-line Republican family. His father, John, was both Rhode Island governor and U.S. senator. In 2008, Lincoln Chafee endorsed Barack Obama during the presidential campaign, and 63% of Rhode Islanders gave Obama their vote for president. Third in the nation after Hawaii, 72, and Vermont, 68. This year, Mr. Obama did not endorse either the independent Lincoln Chafee or Frank Caprio, the Rhode Island Democratic Party's official nominee. Caprio was asked what he thought about Obama's silence.
I never asked for President Obama's endorsement. He could take his endorsement and really shove it as far as I'm concerned.
One day later, Caprio was interviewed.
Let's get the reality here politically. Lincoln Chafee is a friend of the president.
It was played out just like in the worst way of backroom politics. On late Sunday night, on the eve of before the president was coming into Rhode Island, a very odd trip. A reporter contacted us, not the White House. We were more than happy to stay silent about this and let the president come in and go campaign with him in a small business in our state. But they politicized it, so that's the reality.
If for some reason the president were to contact you and say, I need every governor in my corner, I've changed my mind, Frank, I really do want to support you, I want to endorse you, would you welcome that endorsement?
Like I said, I have the highest level of respect for the president. I'd be happy to field this call.
Question, why did President Obama, go to Rhode Island, Pat Buchanan?
He went in to save Patrick Kennedy's seat. The last of the Kennedys is retiring from Congress, John. That seat, you'd be surprised, is up for grabs. And the president wanted to save it, but this is a general disaster. Caprio should not have done that because you don't insult the president of the United States, I don't care who he is. And secondly, when your base is the same as the president's, that's foolish. But the president should not have gone into Rhode Island and leaked the word that I'm not going to endorse the Democratic candidate. It was a debacle all the way around. It was a bad day for everybody, especially Caprio, who I do not think is going to win. I think Chafee's going to be the next governor of Rhode Island.
Is this the end of the Kennedy dynasty?
Well, it is temporarily, unless one of them chooses to run against Scott Brown in 2012 in Massachusetts. And I think the Kennedys could come back. There's no doubt about it.
Eunice's son is the mayor of Santa Monica. Is he the last Kennedy in politics?
There are a couple of Kennedys holding office, but this next Congress will be the first time there won't be a Kennedy in the Congress in more than half a century. The White House didn't leak that he wasn't going to endorse the Democrat in Rhode Island. They did a phone call on Sunday afternoon. I was on the phone call, so it was not a secret. And I do think it is personal loyalties to Lincoln Chafee. He was in the Senate with Obama, and he endorsed him over John McCain. So I think he was returning that. And it's also a signal that this president, despite all of the labels that the other side puts on him, that he's a socialist and he's so far left, he's really not a Democrat through and through. He acts under other obligations as well. But I think what he did in Rhode Island, John, that's your home state. It's a very Democratic state. He's trying to rally his base, which is young people and African Americans, and I think he's having some success. They're typically the lowest turnout in these midterm elections.
It is the most Democratic state, with the exception of those two others. But why is Obama, is Obama damaged goods, do you think? No. You saw the New York Times. His job approval rating is 45. His disapproval rating is 47.
He's no more damaged goods than Ronald Reagan or Bill Clinton was at this time in their first terms. He's hurting because the economy is hurting. The Democrats are going to take a hit. But I wouldn't align yourself, John, with the Senate Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, who says he's going to devote the next 2 years to making sure that Obama is a one-term
Let me
president.
Take a crack
I think
at
that's
that
a
question,
fool's
John.
errand.
What's that?
I think that's a fool's errand.
Let me take a crack at that question about Obama.
Ball over home plate there.
Here is a problem for Democrats. This week, Harris released a poll showing Barack Obama at a 37% job approval rating. It took President Bush years to get to 37%. It took Barack Obama a year and a half. He is a millstone around the neck of most Democratic candidates this year. Huge majorities of the American people reject every single big legislative achievement of this presidency and of this Congress, from the stimulus to Obamacare to cap and trade. Unemployment at 10%, stagnant economic growth. We heard this week only a 2% growth rate, anemic. So what's happening is you've got this curious phenomenon of Democrats running against their own president, running against their own agenda. In fact, this week we had this absurd development of a Mississippi Democrat named Gene Taylor blurting out, because he's panicked about his race, blurting out that he voted for John McCain and not Barack Obama in 2008.
That's
What's next? Admitting that they voted for George W. Bush?
Very conservative Democrat in a very conservative district who's probably going to be a Republican this time next week.
Look, his biggest problem is the jobs in the United States.
Of course. That's all of our
Do you
problem.
think he has exhibited some plan for resolving that, or does he just keep dancing away from it?
Don't forget,
Is
John,
he focusing on jobs?
John,
and what
even
is he
Monica said we're recovering just too slowly.
I'm
That's
talking
the
about job
difficulty
creation.
right
Job
now.
creation. Does
Well,
he have
exactly.
a
Exactly. Well, of course he's got a plan. He's been implementing it, but it's not enough.
Well, he has
It's
a
gonna
broad
take more
economic
time.
plan, but can you see it siphoning out into job creation?
Absolutely. It's already happening, and I mean, everybody's got their different views as to what should be done from here. I think more resources should be poured into it, but we're going to have more conservative Congress. Is probably not going to happen.
10% jobless population.
John, nobody's got a plan, John.
But the fact
Nobody's
is,
got a plan for jobs. Look, Obama tried with his stimulus bill. The Federal Reserve doubled the money supply. They put interest rates down to zero. The Republicans are arguing for tax cuts. You're not going to get those in the next Congress. You got a deficit that's 10% of GDP.
Obama gave you tax cuts.
John,
well, what about
quantitative easing?
One more question on Obama and the way he's conducting himself during this campaign. And the question is his tone shrill? For example, he tells Latinos to, quote, punish your enemies. He tells Democrats that the Republicans have to be made to see that they should sit in the back, meaning the back of the bus.
Back of the bus, right.
So he's bringing all that to the fore.
As much as that language can be taken out of
very
context.
unlike Obama?
In as much as you can take that language out of context, yes. But
you
the
think
fact
it was out of context? You don't think those are Q words?
I heard the speeches, John. I know. No, the fact of the matter is that, to be a president, you've got to preach optimism. You've got to give that sunny spirit that Ronald Reagan gave back in the 80s.
But you have to be reasonably ironic.
Clarence, what does punish your enemies mean?
It means.
Well, what do you think it means?
It means Republicans are your enemies.
It means
yes or no?
It means re-electing a Democratic Congress and denying the Republicans their fantasy over the last year that they're going to control everything.
What is Axelrod doing for him? What is Axelrod doing? Is he feeding them this stuff? Inherently, you don't see that in
feeding
Obama.
him
It's
stuff.
just out of character.
Look,
for him.
he's trying to rally Democrats who are angry at the other side.
Are you alleging
and
Democrats
I would
feed
like
on this
it.
kind of
I would like it if he had some more optimistic tone. Excuse me.
Here is the
but
problem
he
for Obama.
is succeeding finally and looking like he's fighting
Succeeding
back.
at
Democrats
30
felt like he was not aggressive enough. That the Republicans
So he's
played
feeding a
him.
political
That
appetite.
he chased by partisan
I would
for far too long, and it
say-
wasn't going.
I would hardly say
Monica,
a
would you
37%.
please let me finish?
Let her finish.
Let her finish.
Hold on, Monica.
The Democrats feel that he really really was played by the Republicans, chasing this fantasy of bipartisanship, and they're glad to see him fighting back. And this is a fight. This is a real battle. People are getting stomped on out on the campaign
Eleanor
trail.
says he's succeeding. I would hardly call a 37% job approval in his first term
He's
succeeding.
48%
The other part of his problem is that when he comes out with language like this, it is wholly unpresidential. He is supposed to be president of all of the people, including those who oppose him and his agenda. The other part of his problem is that it violates the Obama brand. The Obama brand was bringing everybody together and healing what divides us. He has gone out there and been the most divisive president.
Question. If instead of hitting the campaign trail, President Obama had stayed in the White House, would the Democrats then have been in which one of these conditions? Multiple choice. A, would they be better off? B, would they be worse off? C, would they be about the same?
Caprio would be better off. But no, I think he helps some Democrats.
Well, what you mean? You mean
overall? I think it's a wash.
In which district?
I think they're liberal districts. He helps. There's no doubt about it. But he hurts. In
the unsafe seats, he might help.
John, the blue dogs are going to be euthanized in mass on Tuesday.
The Republicans won 54 seats in 1994, and the Democrats basically won those seats back over a series of elections. These are swing seats, and a lot of them are going to fall back into the Republican agenda. And I think the president has helped by fighting back. A president who retreats in the White House and doesn't fight would add to your fantasy that he's not going to run again.
Okay, the answer is A, according to Ellen.
Caprio was thrilled that Obama didn't endorse him. No wise Democrat wants his president. 37%
you mean they're worse
approval
off.
coming in and campaigning for them. And the very telling thing is the fact that Obama had to go into blue states like Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Illinois. That tells you what kind of state the
would have been
Democrats
better if he had stayed in the White House from that point of view. The Democrats.
Phone it in, baby. Phone it in.
Are they better off, worse off, or the same?
John, we knew this going into this election. It was going to swing toward the Republicans. It was going to be a campaign full of anger. And the fact is that he's gone out there and stemmed some of the hemorrhaging. There's no question he's done his party some good.
The magic is gone. They're worse off. Issue 2, election pitches of 2010.
That sly come hither stare strips my conscience bare. It's witchcraft.
I'm not a witch. I'm nothing you've heard. I'm you. I'll go to Washington and do what you'd do. I'm Christine O'Donnell, and I approve this message.
Tuesday's candidates are flooding the airways with political ads. 37 races for the U.S. Senate, 37 governors, and, of course, 435 U.S. House seats. The television sell is huge, and some of the ads are memorable. A few samples. Most humorous. Democrat John Hickenlooper, the sitting mayor of Denver, is concurrently running for governor of Colorado.
I'm John Hickenlooper, and I guess I'm not a very good politician because I can't stand negative ads. Every time I see one, I feel like I need to take a shower. And you see a lot of them. With all the challenges we face, Colorado needs a governor who brings people together to create jobs and cut government spending.
Why did Hickenlooper take the high road?
It's a funny ad, and it's a good message, especially for his base. People are fed up with all the negative ads. He looks like a nice guy and a little bit of humor, and he's going to run a clean political campaign. The problem is, Tom Tancredo is gaining on him, and if I were him this weekend, if he had to, I'd dump a lot of negative ads, I'll tell you to save myself.
What's Tancredo's party line?
He's a Constitution Party guy, and
What's
the Republican.
What's that?
It's Howard Phillips, his third party, and the
Howard
Republican
Phillips.
candidate.
Is that still around?
Howard is still here.
Well,
the Republican is down below 10%.
The Reform Party is gone, right?
The Reform Party.
That's your party.
Well,
it
you
is
crushed
gone.
that.
It's in the canal, John.
It's in the canal. But there's a Constitution Party out there?
Yes, there is.
Well,
it's on the ballot, and look, here's the thing.
What's the fundamental proposition?
Republicans
The Constitution runs the land?
The real problem. Republicans could lose their ballot position in 2012 in Colorado for falling below 10%.
You remember Howard?
I do. Now,
where is Howard?
Howard's living out there in the same building, works in the same building with Bay. My sister.
Back to Hickenlooper. He's running well ahead, which is why he can afford to take the high road. And Pat should tell you that his sister is running Tom Tancredo's campaign. So that's what we got a little plug here for him gaining.
It came within 1 point, though, in one poll.
Okay, well, if Tancredo wins, I'll eat your tie next week.
Tom Tancredo is gaining, and he's within the margin of error, and I have a feeling he's got the momentum now, and he's got money pouring in, and he might actually be able to pull this off. The bigger question about these ads is that a lot of the Democrats, Republicans too, but mostly Democrats, are running negative personal attack ads against their opponent because they don't have a message. What are they supposed to run on? They're supposed to run on an economic message. The economy is still very, very shaky, high unemployment. So all that's left for the Democrats is sort of this knee-jerk reaction to go after their opponents in a personal way. Hickenlooper is the exception to the rule.
Okay, best attack ad.
Against Barbara Boxer, sitting Democratic senator from California, being challenged this year by Republican Carly Fiorina.
Barbara Boxer failed to protect California jobs, praises the stimulus plan, while 2.25 million Californians are unemployed. Trillions in deficits, billions in taxes. Our hopes crushed by Washington. The legacy of Barbara Boxer.
Question, will the Boxer Fiorina contest go down to the wire? I ask you, Clarence.
Whenever I hear that doomsday voice and the black and white pictures, the news is not good, But, going into this campaign season, all the consultants are saying attack, attack, attack. Pat was right in the sense that nobody's got the answer on the economy, the big issue. And, the Republicans are the party of no. The Democrats are saying, not them. So it's like Barbara Boxer now has been suffering because of that, but I think she's going to pull it out. What we don't know is how Carly Fiorina's health issues now in the 11th hour might affect the turnout.
But I think it might help her sympathy vote.
It's possible, but it could go the other way. Health issues can work both ways.
It was connected with her breast cancer surgery, right?
That's what I understand, yeah.
Well, it was an infection, and it was handled with antibiotics, so let's not make it more serious.
Yes, and she was out on the campaign trail the next day.
She's trailing Barbara Boxer, and that's why she's got this attack ad out. And Fiorina should be doing better with women, and she really isn't. Her Sarah Palin endorsement in the primaries helped her win the primary, but it's baggage in a general election in a blue state like California.
You want to speak to this ad?
Well, look, Carly Fiorina was trailing and remains trailing behind Barbara Boxer. She's trying to pull out all the stops and remind California voters that this is a big government, big spending liberal in Barbara Boxer. And if California is going to get its fiscal house in order, and if the nation is going to get its fiscal house in order, you got to get rid of Barbara Boxer.
Okay,
that would be catastrophic if Democrats lost California.
Excuse me, best political platform summary.
Florida Democratic Congressman Kendrick Meek, running for the United States Senate seat currently held by George Lemieux, who replaced Mel Martinez after Martinez resigned last year.
I'm Kendrick Meek, the Democrat for Senate, and with 3 of us running, you should know what makes me different. I'm the only one who's fought against developers draining the Everglades. The only one against offshore oil drilling before and after the BP spill. The only one against privatizing Social Security. Yeah! The only one who's pro-choice. Who took on George Bush. Who's fought for middle-class tax cuts. Against high credit card fees. And to raise the minimum wage.
Question, is the message of the ad politically effective or ineffective? Pat Buchanan.
It's politically wrong. There's a couple things. Nobody is for privatizing Social Security in Florida, for heaven's sakes. But look, it's a very effective ad, I think. And the problem with
what's he running for?
He's running for the Senate.
Who are the other two candidates?
The Governor Christ and Marco Rubio, who's way ahead. Yeah. And John, at the weekend, Clinton was down there trying to get Meek to drop out of the race in favor of Charlie Crist. And I think it's going to blow up very, very large because this is the only African American with a shot of being in the U.S. Senate.
He doesn't say anything about jobs. And jobs creation is the big issue down there. And then in the country, as I mentioned before.
But it's a good ad to introduce me.
Do you think it's a waste of money?
Largely, yeah.
It's a good feeling.
It's a great ad.
Meek would have been better off if Chris hadn't run to the left. The hope was Chris would cut into Rubio's vote, but now Chris has turned into kind of a pseudo-Democrat as far as his agenda is concerned, pushing abortion rights and stem cell research and all, and that has really hurt Meek, cut Meek's support.
And Meek is polling at like 15%, and the Democrats are really anxious to keep the Senate, and they also see Marco Rubio as a leader for the Republican Party, so they're trying to cut him off at the
What about that,
It makes political sense.
Does Rubio impress you?
He is incredibly facile and glib. I don't like what he says, but he certainly puts it together in a way that's attractive. He's very charismatic.
National material.
Marco Rubio.
National material.
Material.
National material. You mean vice presidential?
Vice presidential. I bet they look at him, if he wins, they would look at him in 2012.
Marco Rubio,
Hispanic
What's missing? What's bad? What's the negative on him?
They got some problems down there in the
using the Republican credit
cards.
Yeah.
What, for lunch? So what? Big deal? Big deal?
It's a lunch. Who cares?
Come on.
Go ahead.
Marco Rubio is a conservative superstar. He is young. He is very articulate. He's a Cuban American. He's got enormous appeal, and he's going to win this race. Kendrick Meek ran a very classy campaign. I have to say, I love that ad. He's handled himself with great grace, even after the Silver Fox, Bill Clinton, tried to detonate his campaign.
Do you think he's also indispensable to a national ticket because he's Latino?
He could be, but you got to give him some time and some seasoning.
What's the percentage
of the Senate? But he is the future of the
What's
Republican
the percentage
Party.
of the Latino population?
It's 15% of the population, but only 7.5% of the vote.
16% of the population.
No, you were wrong.
Exit question. Political spending this year is estimated to top $3 billion, a new record. Is this sum of money A, too much, B, about right, C, too little, D, misspent?
In some states like California, it's reached saturation and redundancy where it's
Here
backfiring.
you go again, skirting the A, B, C, D.
All right, depends on the state. Some states it's too
here we
little,
go.
others
Here we
it's
go.
too much.
Let's get into Buchanan. What is going into him? Take some testosterone, will you?
Man up, John.
I'm going to go with A, wretched excess, and particularly because a lot of the corporate money and the conservative money is coming in anonymously.
Whereas Eleanor likes to focus on the GOP money, let's take a look at the Democratic money because the unions have poured hundreds of millions of dollars into Democrats.
John, this is a big stimulus program for the media because that's where most of this money is going.
Right on.
TV ads, newspaper ads, et cetera,
We spend more on
and
dog
we need
food,
the money.
John, than we do on politics.
Yeah,
what
but
are you talking about?
The dogs deserve it, and the politicians don't. And the unions, we know where the money's coming from.
This $3 billion is at least okay, if not too little. Issue 3, healthcare backlash.
We cannot sit this one out. We can't let this country fall backwards because the rest of us didn't care enough to fight.
Barack Obama has been U.S. president for 20 months. His prime accomplishment thus far, arguably, is the federal health bill that became law 7 months ago, last March. The health bill was anticipated to be a landmark achievement. But much of the praise it got has evaporated. Indeed, many Americans now regard Obamacare as not even a zero, but an active minus. To review, the health law makes it compulsory for all Americans to buy health insurance, or if they refuse, to pay a tax, really a fine. Opposition to the health bill has risen so much that 20 states have filed lawsuits against the federal government claiming that the new health care bill is unconstitutional. Now, on the threshold of this election, some voters are worried about the perceived government's newfound interference in health care. 49% of voters have a negative opinion of health care versus 39% who have a positive view. These numbers tell us, many believe, that a majority of voters Tuesday will be opposed to the health care bill. Some defenders of Obama's health bill say that it was based on the Massachusetts health bill developed by former Massachusetts Governor Mitt Romney. But Romney says that the Massachusetts health bill is a far cry from Obamacare. In his autobiography, No Apology, Romney claims that the comparison between the two is erroneous. He says, quote, "The notion of the federal government getting involved into the health insurance business is a very bad idea. Government-supplied insurance would inevitably be subsidized at great cost to the taxpayers, and combined with Medicare and Medicaid, it would give the government the kind of monopoly we would never allow a private entity to claim. Clearly, the public insurance option is simply a transitional step towards the president's stated goal of creating a single-payer system, one in which the nation's sole health insurer would be the federal government," unquote.
Eleanor, is that introduction overstated?
I think that's Romney's attempt to make chicken salad out of chicken something else, frankly. The national bill is modeled after his bill, which has an individual mandate, and That's something that Republicans initially proposed. And I think the Obama health care plan is going to stand as an historic achievement. I think the Republicans are campaigning on they're going to repeal it. They're not going to get 60 votes in the Senate for that, and they're not going to get the president's signature. So they'll attempt to slow walk.
Unless they have the Senate.
You still have to get 60 to include anything like that. They're not going to have 60 seats. And you have Republicans campaigning on the big lie that they will keep the aspects of the insurance plan that people like and repeal the rest of it, which is impossible.
You know as well as I, there are a lot of Democrats on the Hill that don't like this bill.
Yeah, but you're going to have John to repeal it. Repeal it, you need 67 votes to override a presidential veto. You're not going to do that. But this bill is a albatross around the neck of the Democratic Party. It is going to drag down many of these blue dogs, especially in these tight races, the semi-conservative districts. It is a killer.
You said that in 66 about Medicare, didn't you? I mean, there was a backlash against these others.
I said Obamacare 66, he lost 47 seats, Clarence, you recall.
Right, but that's what happens though with these programs. You get an initial backlash, but over time, trying to repeal it, that's unprecedented. Is
Obamacare a significant issue in Illinois?
Not
where you do your column?
Not as significant as jobs. We got about 13% unemployment in Chicago right now.
Is Obamacare unpopular? I'm using that word. I hope you don't mind my
it is not unpopular. I don't know of anybody in Illinois clamoring to undo it.
Well,
I mean, everybody says they want to get rid of the bad parts.
You want to speak to
the national polls show about 60% plus would like to see Obamacare fully and completely repealed. That's why you have not just Republicans running on repeal, but you've got a number of Democrats also running on repeal.
As Buchanan has learnedly pointed out, they're not going to repeal it because they need what percentage of the vote?
2/3 of both houses to
override. 2/3 of both houses.
They got to wait till they have a Republican president.
Why don't they decide instead of repealing it? Why isn't there agreement up there to revise it?
The Republicans are claiming that if they gain control of the House, they will starve Obamacare.
You think it can be?
John,
can it be fixed?
Can it be fixed? Of funding until they get a Republican president in 2013.
Can they fix it?
To repeal it?
No,
it can't be fixed.
Happy Halloween! Trick or treat!
Bye-bye.
Geico, committed to providing service to its auto insurance customers for over 70 years. More information on auto insurance at geico.com or 1-800-947-AUTO, any time of the day or night.
There's a world of investment opportunities out there. Spotting them takes experts on the ground, assessing potential firsthand. Templeton, a pioneer in global investing for over 50 years. Gain from our perspective.